Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a stellar lineup of speakers, as you can see, and thank you very much to all of our market veterans who've spent so much of their time with us. And of course, we now are joined by a legendary veteran business and of course business leader and of course investor as well, who spent a lot of time with us on CNBC TV 18. Mr. Kotak, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us here this evening. I'd also like to take a moment to welcome to the Global Leadership Summit Rekha Jhunjhunwala, representing Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Ladies and gentlemen, he has spent so much time on CNBC TV 18, and it's wonderful to have Rekha Jhunjhunwala here with us. Thank you very much for being with us. Mr. Kotak, we're going to talk about the 5 transformative ideas for India. But in a minute, I want to talk about the big transformative idea that's quite literally shaking up the world. Donald Trump and the impact and implications, according to you.
I think pretty transformative, Donald Trump, and has changed the perspective of how we're going to run the world as we go forward, or how he is going to run the world as we go forward. And as was mentioned, 66% of global market cap is US. We just got to make sure that America does not make the rest of the world irrelevant. And that's one of the challenges we must all live up to. Therefore, however small our market share, we need to grow it much faster than what we have in the past. And Shireen, as you think about transformation, I think if you look at America's power, it is essentially 3 things. One is military, second is finance, and third is creativity. And if you look at these 3 important things, which gives the Trump power to the United States, let's ask ourselves each a question about how India has got to transform for the future. So I'm literally taking on from where you have said. So let's look at military power.
Okay.
It's the most powerful defense power in the world, which is United States. And if you look at India on a relative basis, if India has to transform, our percentage of spending on defense as a percentage of our GDP is not growing. Therefore, the world, which is so complex, you just look at the Middle East. A small little country like Israel commands disproportionate power because of its ability to manage defense. And I'm not going into the subjectivity of it, but you're getting into a world where power is power. And raw power will matter. If India has to become a global power of a scale and size which we aspire for, India needs to disproportionately get stronger on its defense from where it is. And that is going to be the source of our power. Therefore, military power and defense power is the starting point of being a powerful nation.
Okay, let me push back a little bit on that, because given the fiscal constraints that we do have to contend with, and also the many priorities that we have to factor in. For instance, we still spend much lower than what is required as far as the health budget is concerned. Here you are saying that India needs to disproportionately spend on its defense budget. So in that context, Mr. Kotak, the choices that the government will need to prioritize, you believe defense over health?
I think those trade-offs have to be taken. But if India wants to be the top 3 nation in the world, it's US, China. And after that, if India wants to be there and to be counted on stage, we will have to find innovation. You're talking about transformative ideas. Moment you bring about balancing and trying to equate things, you don't get to the power situation. And going back to Trump, he is thinking out of the box. We may agree or disagree, but he's changing the rules of the game. So what are we going to do from saying that we believe a strong India from a defense point of view is important, to saying we will walk the talk? For the first step in becoming a power and a transformative step is India must be counted on the global stage in defense.
And do you see the role of private capital as well as the private sector there?
Of course. And this is a new world. You can see the conflicts around. You can look at China building it. You've seen Israel building it. You see US. Europe. Look at the Russian power. Finally, Europe is worried. It has underspent on defense crazily. It has been mercantilist. And time has come for Europe. If Trump withdraws from NATO or says, I'm not spending the money, Europe will have to produce it or run the risk of a new European order with Putin calling the shots. we have no choice but to dramatically and transformatively get much more powerful on the military side.
Okay, let's talk about the second priority, and which is to transform ourselves into a financial powerhouse. Now, the road ahead, the prescription in order for us to do that, what do we prioritize?
See, you become a financial powerhouse if you have one of the two important things. One, you're a reserve currency. Or you have genuine current account surpluses.
Okay.
The US can afford to have a very large current account deficit in the world because it is a reserve currency. And I don't think we can expect to get to a reserve currency status overnight. Therefore, to start with, if you look at, say, go back to 1995, when FII or FPI in India was zero. From 95 to today, which is about 30 years, we have effectively had a situation of current account deficits for almost all the 30 years. And today, I'm really delighted that FPIs have shown so much confidence over 30 years in India. FPI stock at today's market price is $900 billion. Our total foreign exchange reserves, and I'm not saying all the money goes away, please don't misunderstand, is 680. Therefore, India has run current account deficits all 30 years. And the question we have to ask is, how do you get to a situation where for an operating P&L, you make more money than you spend? Your exports of goods and services at some point of time has to be competitive enough to be more than the imports. And we've had a very benign oil situation for the last 10 years. Therefore, if India has to be a great power transformatively, we will first need to move to being self-sufficient on current account. And then aspire for a reserve currency, after which you have the freedom to do what you want.
We'll talk about that freedom in a bit. But, since we are talking about currencies, I also want to understand from you what you make of the current strength as far as the dollar is concerned and the implications of that. You also talked about FPI flows. The previous panel was also talking about the fact that we've now started to see FPIs move money out with the US doing the way that it is and the promise of Trump. What do you expect on that front?
No, I think the two important factors are happening. You're seeing a stronger dollar and higher bond rates in the US. And the question to the world, is, how are we going to take a position where despite one of the largest fiscal deficits, despite a huge current account deficit, the US dollar continues to command trust. And that is where the military power, the creativity and the technology power is enabling the US to get away with disproportionate financial power. And frankly, Shireen, it all doesn't add up. A stronger dollar, but a sharp rise in the valuation of crypto, something has to give. Everything doesn't add up.
What is going to give? Or what is likely to give? What's your best guess?
I'm not a big fan of crypto. Okay, so I'm not really very excited about crypto because it's not...
With Bitcoin at $90,000.
Yeah, so I'm not a believer in that, but right now it seems to be one of the most interesting assets in the world, which we don't seem to understand. So we have to respect that. But I think the world is finally respecting power. And power is showing in the US dollar. However, his policies are going to be very inflationary. You cut taxes, you have tariffs on imports, it is bound to lead to higher inflation, and therefore the bond yields are higher. Therefore, we have to be ready for that. And frankly, if US interest rates and the bond yields are high, it gives very limited opportunity for the rest of the world to go dramatically lower on their bond yields.
And so what does that mean in terms of foreign fund flows?
If $10 billion creates such a big discussion going out in the month of October, I think we have got to be finding a way to say that, can 10% move from a $900 billion? Does India have the absorptive capacity to take a $90 billion out?
Does it?
I think the experts are there. They've given a very encouraging picture. I hope the Indian market is resilient enough. We have $90 billion in the in our foreign exchange reserves. That's not a problem. But long term, we have to be on trade account. We have to get much more competitive. I think Dr. Rangarajan mentioned about it.
Yeah.
We have to be competitive. And this is where, how are you going to compete with a very competitive trade account with a worldwide move towards protectionism? And America can afford to do it. Can India be protective on the trade account and not be competitive?
So do you believe that we need to be far more liberal on that? And do you think that there has, in fact, been a reversal as far as being more protectionist on the trade account? And you believe that we now need to be much more liberal?
See, the fact that we have a domestic market and a protection for domestic producers is a very dangerous thing long-term for competitiveness. I would love to see Indian businesses competitive in free and fair trade. If there is free and fair trade, we should move in the direction of open trade rather than protecting domestic business because we have got a domestic protected market. You cannot live on being protected forever. And we have reached a stage where we say we are now the 5th largest economy in absolute terms. We see us going to being the 3rd largest economy. Why are we scared of more open borders on trade?
But isn't that a question that Indian business needs to answer as well, not just the government?
So CNBC TV 18 should ask Indian business.
We're doing just that.